Boyfriend faked death and then called my reaction manipulative. I'm 21 and he's 24. Together for 3 years, we live apart, but have or had plans to rent together soon. Everything was perfect before this. Backstory. So I have a history of self-harm. Have done so since I was 11 years old. The last time I did it was 2 years ago. I have some brutal scars, but I'm doing so much better, and I'm in therapy. It's been a while since I even had the urge. My boyfriend had an ex before me who played mind games a lot. I feel that it's relevant as he sometimes thinks that I'm playing games when I'm not. For example, he was wary when we started dating that I would self-harm for attention or do it to punish him, as his ex would threaten things like that if he ever left her. I don't and haven't ever done this, and despite my struggles, I'm pretty good with being patient and communicative. Until this, I considered us to have a really healthy relationship. On to the main story. My boyfriend went out drinking with his friends. I usually hear from him as he gets home, at around 2 a.m.-ish, to let me know that he is home and safe, but I didn't hear anything last night. I figured he just forgot, which was no biggie. I went to bed as normal. I woke up at 11 a.m. to a bunch of missed calls from his mother as they live together. I called her back and she texted at 1 p.m. that she couldn't talk. I was kinda worried and I told her as much. She said my boyfriend didn't get home last night and was in a crash and didn't make it. This was super weird to me, since I get on well with his mom and would never expect to be told this via text. After some more texting, I fully believed my boyfriend had passed away that morning, and I totally shut down. The people I live with were all out that day, so I was alone. Grief set in immediately, and I had an extremely bad relapse on my self-harm. At that point, I didn't even care. I was just hurting so much, and my usual coping techniques just weren't doing their job. I listened to old voice notes of his, and even sent one telling him how much I loved him through the most unhinged sobbing that I've ever done. Well, he arrived at my house 20 minutes later saying it was a prank since he got into a small bump and thought that I would get mad about him driving drunk, as well as about him mushing up his car a little, and him and his friends came up with a plan to just make me happy that he was alright. So they took his mum's phone and the above happened. I obviously was thankful he wasn't dead, but I had a million other much stronger emotions. I was so angry that he drove drunk, so angry he saw nothing wrong with it, so angry that he would lie about something so serious, and absolutely heartbroken that he let me sit in grief for over an hour until I sent a voice note that made him feel bad. Plus lots of other things that I'm still struggling to articulate. He found out that I harmed and flew off the handle. He said I punished him and turned a harmless prank into something much more serious and ruined the joke of it. He said I was guilting him for having fun, and now he can't trust that I won't do it again. He even suggested that I stay in hospital for my mental issues for a few weeks, and that I crank up therapy. He said he can't leave me if he wants now, or else I'll just act like this, just like his ex. I am beyond hurt. I probably should look into therapy if I'm still resorting to it, I admit, but this was not an everyday bout of anxiety or even a breakup. I thought he had died. I'm also very aware that his actions were massively shitty, and he is being so manipulative in the aftermath. How is it a punishment if I thought that he was dead? I absolutely would not react like this if he just broke up with me, and I have never said or hinted at that. I'm not really sure what to do now. My gut tells me to leave him over this, but I am so unsure. And now in the comments, please listen to your gut. This is beyond horrible behavior, not a harmless prank. You deserve to be with someone who has compassion and respect for you. If anything, the boyfriend needs therapy. What a sick joke. You need to break things off ASAP. Right? What a cruel thing to do. I could never even be friends with someone who did this. The worst part is that he did it to get away from the consequences of drinking and driving. He willingly and purposely hurt you to ease the repercussions of his actions. Let that sink in. Dump him, please. He is a piece of trash. He even took his mum's phone to make it look like she was in on it. That takes it to a whole new level of cruelty. OP, I would dump him immediately and tell his mom what he did. Make sure to actually talk to her so you know that she actually knows what he did. Your boyfriend is a horrible person. What he did shows deep character flaws. The drunk driving is bad enough, that more so because he knew that it was wrong and he chose to do it anyway. But the harmless prank? That's just mean. So disrespectful and inconsiderate, made all the more so by your personal history. And speaking of the accident, did he leave the scene of an accident while he was driving drunk, or was he late getting home because he got a DUI? And OP replies, he bumped into a fence post, so luckily nobody was injured, but the potential was there, as well as the carelessness, so I don't know if he was late or not, honestly. I think he planned this almost immediately, and not texting me all night as a part of it. And he calls you the manipulative one? This guy is sick in the head. Get out ASAP. And now on to the update. Long story short, I broke up with him for the following reasons. Drunk driving, endangering himself and others, took his mother's phone and made me think that it was her, deception, telling me he was dead, deception and extreme emotional stress, letting me think that for hours. I could list every negative trait for that one, borderline sociopathic behavior. Not being sorry for any of these things, twat. Telling me that I'm too sensitive, invalidation, shifting blame, and being mad at me for relapsing. Unsupportive, uncaring, and unkind. I still won't blame him for the relapse though, as many people here wanted me to. That is on me, and I'm still going to go to therapy regularly for that. So, for those interested, I took a few days to myself. I did speak over the phone to his mom, and she was incredibly apologetic on his behalf. I taught her how to put a passcode on her phone. After that, we met up and I outlined the things that I listed above. He seemed apologetic and sincere about all of them and listened to me well. Unfortunately, he didn't quite understand that being apologetic would not get me to change my mind on ending the relationship, so his true colors came out in the end. He got annoyed at me for ending it and again told me that I was dramatic and other invalidating arguments. Oh well, I said what I needed to say, and that's enough closure for me. And now in the comments, well, I'm glad you didn't buy the fake "I'm sorry" act. It is so often used by really manipulative people to convince you they have changed, and I'm glad that you saw right through that BS. Good on you, life is too short wasting time in relationships like this. Agreed. As one of the lovesick puppies that kept going back to abuse because he was sorry and he wouldn't ever do it again. I don't believe I'm sorry anymore. Not for that. He sounds like a psychopath? 100%. I'm so glad that OP has been firm on this decision. The guy is terrifying with his callousness. Nah, psychopaths don't know why what they're doing is wrong. Sociopaths know and do it anyways. Actually, many psychopaths are very aware that what they are doing is wrong. They just don't feel any empathy for those they're doing it to, or any remorse. Could be a sociopath too, though. Damn, boyfriend is such a piece of crap. What is with people who think faking death is a prank, especially committing to it for hours? With a person who has a history of harming themselves when emotions get so high. Why would you do this? This dude makes me so mad. Poor OP. I'm the type that tries to find a silver lining in everything, and I can see two here. She got rid of an unsupportive, selfish, insert bad word, guy. She also figured out a potentially powerful trigger for her to regress in self-harm, so could work on that, as unfortunately death is a part of life, and she will have to deal with it in the future. It makes me wonder if his ex really did play mind games, or if he's just got a history of being shitty to vulnerable women. Our next post is titled, US citizen cousin, 16 female, is abroad and under heavy pressure to get married by parents. She has asked for my help. My cousin is 16 years old. I'm 22 and live in Massachusetts. She was born in Massachusetts to non-citizen parents and has not been in the US since she was 1 year old. But she was born in the US, so she is a US citizen, but she doesn't speak any English. She currently lives in Pakistan and told me that she is under heavy pressure to get married to someone that is picked by her parents. She asked me to help her somehow get out of that situation and, if possible, come to the US. She doesn't have a passport or a US birth certificate. I know there is one, but she doesn't have it herself. Either her parents destroyed it or they have it. She lives in a rural area, is generally heavily monitored, and has a very limited internet access. She also can't go to the embassy, which is in Islamabad. She lives in the Sindh province. Who do I contact here to get her the help that she needs? Is there a hope that she can come here? I'm happy to pay for her plane ticket. And now in the comments, I was able to get my wife out of Pakistan when her parents convinced her to visit and then essentially kept her there. I contacted the US Embassy in Islamabad to accomplish this. They were able to convince her parents to bring her to the embassy to handle passport issues. Once she was there, they separated her from her family and put her on a plane the next day. The only thing is, I had to buy the plane ticket for her. They normally do not have the funds. Here's the email address from the US Embassy that I had contact with, acsislamabad@state.gov. Help her get her birth certificate. Contact the Bureau of Vital Statistics for the state she was born in and see what it will take to get her her birth certificate. Once she has that, things will be a lot easier when dealing with the US government. If she was born in Massachusetts, you can order her birth certificate through Vital Check online and have it expedited. And now on to the update. We helped her, and she's here. So thanks for your help and pointing me in the right direction. My sister and I contacted the State Department, the embassy, and the consulate in Karachi. They were able to verify that she exists and that she's a US citizen. We told them of what's happening to her, and they were quite helpful in telling us what to do and being ready to help her as soon as possible. The challenge was getting her into the consulate in Karachi, but she actually got herself there, which took weeks of planning, where they gave her her travel documents to be able to come to the US. We bought tickets for her to go from Karachi to Doha and then to Boston, where we picked her up from the airport. By the time her parents realized what's what, she was on the Doha to Boston flight. Her parents tried to apply for a visa to come to the US, but their visa applications were refused. I'm not aware if the people at the embassy who refused it actually knew about my cousin's situation or not, but we are glad that they weren't able to come here. She currently lives with me and my sister has been granted guardianship over her. Her priority now is to learn English. Her parents still try to somehow make her return, but we've closed down the lines of communication, and hopefully her life from now on will be stress-free. And now in the comments, thank God she's now safe. I'm actually amazed that they got this done. Kudos to the people who actually helped this young lady. I'm so glad she was able to get out. Honor killings are still a thing in certain parts of Pakistan. This could have literally been a life or death situation for this girl. As a US citizen, she is much too valuable to kill if she refuses to just marry the person her parents picked for her, if her parents have other options available. She could, however, be severely punished or mentally tortured, so much so that she wishes she was dead. Safe? Hardly. She is ripe for an honor killing. These arranged marriage scenarios have a tragically high percentage of said outcome. I'd say she has some time ahead of her before safe is an appropriate word to use. Yup, and I please hope that she doesn't try to visit again. These guys know how to emotionally manipulate someone. Emotional manipulation is the way to go, but when that doesn't work, it escalates to a nuclear reaction of violence. I live in India, and we have a large cultural similarities with Pakistan. It is very scary how common this is. My own mother was married off to my father when she was 18, and we live in a Tier 1 city. She was lucky that my father is a gem of a person, and my paternal grandfather fought with his family for his daughter-in-law's education. She was a brilliant student and loved to study. Hardly women are lucky and are still forced into marriages. It is an unfortunate circumstance. I saw a documentary once about an Anglo-Indian plastic surgeon who travels back to India every year to operate for free on women abused by their families and in-laws. There was a burn case where the mother and sister-in-law had set her on fire because they thought her dowry had been too low, and since she had children and no money, she had to go on living with them. I don't even know how someone can survive something like that, and you could see that even the plastic doctor had to work hard not to cry at that point. Yes, that happens too, even though taking dowry is illegal. Women still get beaten up if they fail to provide with it. Acid was sold freely a few years back, and was thrown on women mostly whenever she rejected a guy. You know, the sick mentality of, no one will want her if her face is ruined. Thankfully, after a 15-year-old Laxmi rejected a 30-year-old guy and was a victim of an acid attack, a sort of movement took place, and now acid cannot be sold freely. Yes, the attack made the international news too, but we hadn't heard that there had at least been consequences. I wish there were more effective measures to fight the deep-seated misogyny. Am I the asshole? Dad gave the business to my brother, so I left. My older brother, 30 male, went to university and then worked in the city as an accountant. I, 27 male, started to work for my dad as a plumber at 15 and went to college to get my qualifications in plumbing and gas. At about the time that COVID started, my brother moved back from the city and started working for my dad, 55 male, in accounting. My dad has been unwell for the last 4 years due to asbestosis, and it has been really hard on the family, and he's getting worse, but is still loving life. I've been running the business for the last 2 years. We have expanded and now have 50 vans in the fleet, and 1 qualified and 1 trainee allocated to each van. COVID was hard in the beginning, but we've bounced back. My dad still works on tools with me on Fridays, half day, and then back to my place for some beers. Friday is the only day that I'm on tools now, as I'm doing everything else to run the business. Well, last month he told the family that he's stepping down from the business due to health and wants to spend more time with my mother, and is giving the business to my brother and for me to step down from the acting CEO. This upset me, as I've been with the business for 12 years. At the beginning, it was only me and my dad, and my brother never wanted to be in the business. He said that it was not worth his time, and now he's the boss, and I've been dumped back to a heating engineer with a £20,000 pay cut. He doesn't have any clue what we do or how we do it. I spoke to my dad, and he told me that my brother deserves it for all the hard work he has done, that he has a family, and I don't, and that he went to uni. A lot of the workers are upset about the decision, and have told me that they will go where I go. I told my dad that if that's how he feels, then I will leave and start my own business. I have not spoken to my dad or brother since then, and have told them to never contact me. For the last month, I have had thousands of calls and messages from family saying some very hurtful things, and telling me that I'm ungrateful for what I have, so am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I feel as though I'm the asshole for leaving the business and refusing to talk to my dad or brother because my father gave my brother the business, even though I've worked there for 12 years and have run it for 2, and my brother has only been in the company for 1. Now in the comments, your dad telling you, sorry, but your brother went to college, he deserves the business, is some BS. You built the business, you ran the business, not the asshole. OP, would your family's last name happen to be Double Down? Because Jesus, that is insane how they know that they are wrong and just don't care. That pay cut is cold. I can't believe they do that to their own family, not the asshole. But approach him with the figures. For example, 25% of the workforce have approached me saying that they are happy to walk out with me, 45% of the workforce have expressed how they do not want to work for my brother and only me, ... He is more likely to see reason if you show numbers and then point out that you didn't go to uni to support his business. You haven't started a family yet, but you plan to. And your brother is managing just fine on accountant wage, and if not, can easily get a job that pays well, as you only have this job or the option to start a competing business in the same area, which may destroy his business based on previously mentioned figures. Not the arsehole. Co-mingling business and family can be very hard. Your father may feel that he's making the best decision for the company, and your brother may have some valuable skills as an accountant. However, it's also not fair to do this to you either after your commitment to the business. Frankly, I think the opportunity is a 50-50 partnership with you running operations and him running finance and administration. Both are important. Frankly, your area is more important in this case, but if your dad doesn't see that, there is nothing that says that you need to keep working for him or your brother, and it's your right to start your own business, and that should be done without hard feelings. It's a business decision on both sides. You have accepted his decision, and they need to accept yours. Best of luck with your endeavor. And now back up to the post, we have an edit. I want to say thank you to everyone for your kind words. There are so many to reply to, I will do my best to thank you all. To hear my father tell me in his own way that he doesn't think I'm good enough was hard, and for my family to take his and my brother's side was even harder. In the morning, I will contact the large clients that I've worked with over the last 6 years. I know we've had some sites postponed due to COVID, and I'll try to take them over. I have 20 of my colleagues wishing to come work for me, and I've saved nearly all of the money that I've earned over the last 12 years, so I think I have enough to get myself on my feet. And now, on to the update. I want to inform everyone that I am not starting a business to destroy my brother. As much as I want to, I've spent almost 13 years to build it, and I don't want to see anyone out of a job or the business to die. It's about 5 a.m. in England. You have all helped me so much. I will be going over to talk to my father at around 8 a.m. and to take him out for breakfast and talk. I'm not sure if I'll get a proper answer from him, but I love my family and I want my future kids to know them. I will update after the events of later today. Update 2, as I said in one of the comments, I believe my family had found my post, and they did. This morning when I arrived at my parents' house, my mum opened the door and looked like she had been crying a lot. My dad came over to talk to me, and we went out for breakfast. He didn't say a word on the way there, or when we arrived. When on the way back he asked if we could pull over and talk, I can honestly say that this was the first time that I saw my dad cry. I asked why he did this to me, and he said he doesn't know. I kept pushing, and he finally told me that he owed it to my brother for not being around him as much as me when we were growing up, and there was times that my brother needed him, but he was working. I couldn't believe it. After 12 years of hard work, that was his reasoning. I told my father that I had spent half my life working to do everything for the business, and how he just threw me to the side just because his son came back hurt more than I could explain. He told me he knows, as they had been shown the post that I put up, and to my surprise, he wasn't mad. He seemed remorseful. He told me that my mother has been in pieces after reading the comments about how bad she treated me and thinks that I'll never talk to them again. My dad told me after reading it all, he realized he should have split the business between us as it'll need both of us to keep progressing, and apologized to me for never telling me how proud of me he was of everything that I'd done, and thought that I knew how proud he was. But my brother has full control, my father has no say anymore, and my brother would never go 50-50. He told me he wants me to go back as my brother will need me, and I told him that that's not my problem anymore after he demoted me and cut my pay. I tried to make it work for 3 weeks, but my brother wouldn't listen and didn't believe that I knew what I was talking about, telling me that he knows how to run a business. So I left. Why work my ass off there when I could do the same work and make more money for myself? My dad broke down and said that he had destroyed the family and should have never done what he did. I don't understand why it took him this long to realize that I was a valuable piece in the company. Update 3. As I said, I've had a couple of Zoom calls with some clients today, and they've gone very well. I've been informed that they will all be sending signed proposal letters for the up-and-coming work. I'm lucky the site start dates don't clash. That was one of the main things that I was worried about. 3 of my colleagues have now left the business and have spoken to my dad, informing him about why they left and that they will be coming to work with me under their own choice. To hear them tell me this meant a lot. They all have between 5 to 10 years more experience in the industry. At the moment, I have all we need to start a new business with the 3 vans I own and the tools that I've built up over the years. I'm looking forward to the new venture in my life, and I can't wait to share this with my children when I have them. Then I received a call from my father asking me to come over for dinner. I was unsure at first, but thought that it was probably a step in the right direction. On arrival, my whole family was there. I went in, and the atmosphere dropped. My mom wouldn't look at me, and my brother just sat there acting as if I didn't exist. My dad came and asked me and my brother to come into his office. He started to ask when I was going to return to the company, as they need me in early Monday morning. I could not even believe what I was hearing. I told them both that I'm not coming back, and I've started my own company, and what does he mean we? You gave the business to him, my brother. My brother started to lose his temper, telling me that if I cared about the company, why would I leave? I gave him some very choice words before telling him that I have always cared for the company, and I spent 12 years of my life working to make it successful. Unlike him, who swans in and takes all the glory, and that I will not sit there and be treated like that. I told my brother to F off so I could talk to Dad. I asked him what this morning was all about, telling me he's sorry but then expects me to go running back. He couldn't even look me in the eyes, so I left and said goodbye to my cousin, nieces, and nephews, and walked out. I've been writing for about 3 hours on and off, coming back on here to talk to people. I just want to say thank you to everyone for the personal messages, comments, rewards, and all the kind words and encouragement. I'll try and message everyone, but I'm exhausted and will most likely fall asleep. And now on to the final update. Sorry it's been a while. I've had a lot going on in the last couple of weeks. I'll try and explain the most I can. So the new business is going very well, we have a lot of work coming in, and I'm making good money. At the end of the year, I'll be looking at expanding, so I am very happy with that. My fiancé and I are very happy. She is very busy planning the wedding of her dreams. She wants me to wear a suit, but tough luck, I'll be in my kilt. I couldn't be happier than I am right now, waking up to her every day. She is there for me no matter what, and has been my rock through everything. Now on to my family. My father and brother still refuse to talk to me, and have told me that they will not be attending the wedding, even though they haven't been invited. My mother has called my fiancé, but hasn't said much, only to ask about wedding stuff and will not talk to me. My fiancé's family have been amazing. My soon-to-be in-laws have been helping with the wedding and everything else, and I am extremely thankful for everything they have done for us. My other family have now backed off and apologized and want to make amends for everything that was said. Myself and my fiancé are set to have our wedding in November. We sat down together and have decided to try to have children after we're married. We are both excited to be parents. And now in the comments, what I don't understand is, why not just give the accountant brother a job in the family business as an accountant? That's literally what he does for a living. What would possess the father to take the business from his son, who is the acting CEO, and give it to the son who has never been in charge of a company, much less that specific company? Messy family dynamics aside, it makes zero logical sense. It's probably a heaping helping of tradespeople aren't as smart as university grads, and a side of accountants work in the business office, so that's the same as being good at running a business, right? What is Dad and brother going to do once the business goes belly up? Hopefully OP can pick up the cheap fans and tradies. That father is a crap dad, and the arrogance of the brother to take the whole business. Then to blame OP for not remaining the crap kicker? I wish OP the very best, and to totally forget his deplorable family. I have done business with trades companies run by accountants. They never got my business more than once. They make the employees miserable and can't keep the good ones on the payroll. The brother will crash and burn, and for them to think that it was okay to demote OP and give him a 20k pay cut after investing 12 years of his life into the family business? The brother has a rude awakening coming to him when he crashes and burns. That's why accountants don't start companies. They are hired help that helps the company founders manage the finances. Am accountant, can confirm. We are generally not great with people and prefer to just crunch numbers alone in our office. Am accountant, started a business, but it's an accounting business. Does great. Would be a bad plumber. If your employer cuts your pay and gives you a demotion, they're essentially asking for you to resign. There's really no other way to interpret that. For the family to then say, "But we thought you'd stay," makes me think the other son has been the favorite all along. There's really no other explanation for the level of delusion the parents and brother must be under to think that this guy would, and should, continue to work for the business after the pay cut and demotion. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for refusing to be a godfather/legal guardian for my friend's baby without a DNA test?" Weird title, weirder situation. So my, 26 male, best friend is Derek, also 26 male. We've been best friends since we've been 8 years old. Due to some family issues, he lived with my family during high school and college. My parents call him their bonus kid, and we're basically brothers at this point. So I really don't trust his girlfriend of 3 years, Nicole, 25 female. She has always just given me bad vibes. She lies about little things for no reason. Unfortunately, her and Derek have a lot of similar experiences and hobbies, and he is head over heels for her. I've always been respectful to her, but am always looking out for Derek. My girlfriend thinks that he is blind with love. So Nicole is now 8 months pregnant. Derek comes to me asking me to be the godfather/legal guardian. Derek works a dangerous job, so it wouldn't be crazy for something to happen to him. Nicole was on board with this too. I told him that I would do that as long as he gets a DNA test done first. He was shocked and asked why. About 7 months ago, Derek and Nicole broke up for a couple of days. She claimed that nothing happened with anyone else, that she just sat at home and cried. But why not make sure? Why would it be an issue if she has nothing to hide? But my biggest reason is what Nicole did with her sister. So Nicole's sister had a kid, claimed her boyfriend was the dad, he wasn't and she knew he wasn't. Nicole lied straight to her sister's boyfriend for years. Nicole knew the whole time that her niece wasn't his kid. Everything came out eventually. Dude left and Nicole blamed the ex-boyfriend for not loving his kid regardless. I told her that it wasn't his kid and she knew it. When I called Nicole out, she says that it wasn't her place to tell him. Ever since, I've kept her at an arm's length and would rather Derek break up with her. Me and Derek have had deep talks about that, but he just defends Nicole's actions. So then I asked him, straight up, if the kid wasn't his, would he stick around? And he said no. Hence my pushing for a DNA test. Derek blew up at me, saying that I'm forcing him into something that he doesn't want. I said I'm not helping raise some other dude's kid, and that if the DNA test is such an issue, then pick someone else to be the godfather, and he can just tell Nicole that I'm the one pushing for this, and the blame can be on me. My parents are calling me an asshole. My girlfriend agrees that every kid should be given a DNA test at the hospital at birth to avoid issues. And we don't understand why that isn't a law. She's on my side with everything. Am I the asshole? And now in the comments, no assholes here. You stated your requirements to be the godfather. He, or they, don't want to do that. No assholes here. There are 2 possible reasons why. 1, he's not the father and Nicole knows it, or 2, he is the father, but based on her previous lies, she's been called out and is really defensive. I'm putting my money on the first. Or 3, he doesn't want to blow up his relationship by accusing her of lying to him, which is what a DNA test would mean. No assholes here. You can't force him to do something that he doesn't want to do, you've made your stand, and now you should back off. Quote, my girlfriend agrees that every kid should be given a DNA test at the hospital at birth to avoid issues. I couldn't agree more. They should be standard practice at birth. Why should a test that has no medical reason be standard? Because there is medical reason behind it. On this sub especially, they love to talk about medical history, and having your actual biological father known would aid that. Also, forget the parents' feelings. The child deserves to know who their parents are. You're not just being asked to be this kid's godfather, which doesn't really have any legal status. You're being asked to take responsibility for the kid if something should happen to Derek, right? Not the asshole. That's totally your decision. You are not pushing Derek to do anything by putting a condition on your decision. And especially given Nicole's history, I'm right there with you thinking a DNA test is in order. But that is Derek's decision. He can either accept your conditions for wanting to take legal responsibility for the kid, or find someone else. And OP replies, yeah, it's a legal guardianship along with being the godfather. I told Derek that if he doesn't like my request, then he can always ask someone else to do it. And back up to the post, we have an edit. After showing Derek this post and the responses, he's going to get a blood test done right now. Nicole isn't fighting him that hard, it sounds like. And now on to the update. So I just wanted to provide an update because people were asking. So Derek takes Nicole to the hospital for the blood test to establish parenthood. As the nurse is getting ready to do the test, Nicole freaks out, saying she hates needles. The nurses and Derek calm her down. Derek takes her home, and this is when he found out the truth. So Nicole finally admits that she did sleep with another guy during their breakup, and wasn't sure who the father of the baby was. She admitted to sleeping with him multiple times, so she went behind Derek's back and already got a blood test with the other guy to make sure. He didn't match. So the child is 100% Derek's. Obviously, Derek is distraught and embarrassed. He actually knows the other guy that Nicole slept with and is kinda humiliated about the whole thing. So he's moving in with me for a little bit until he figures it all out. He is done with Nicole, and he doesn't plan to be in the child's life at all. He told her this, and she's all upset about it, but it's her issue now, and it's not Derek's. Derek is refusing to co-parent with a pathological liar, and doesn't want to be chained to her for the rest of his life. He told her to get an abortion if she wants, because he won't be involved. From the sounds of it, Nicole isn't going to pursue child support, but Derek said he would pay it if he has to, but just isn't going to be involved at all now. So maybe a happy ending for some, and maybe not. But my only advice is that everyone should get a DNA test, because you never know what someone's lying about. I'm glad I pushed for this, because the truth might have never come out. And now in the comments, if the other guy is the only one that she's slept with, and he's 100% not the father, then why did she freak out? The people in this story are either the dumbest people in the country, or there are multiple guys and she has ordered them by desirability. Top choice is not the dad, so if Derek is also not the dad, then last choice is now the dad. This is what a former friend did. She claimed there were 6 potential fathers from the time frame where she could have gotten pregnant. In reality, it was closer to 18. She had a really good autumn that year. The father ended up being the last guy on her list, and also the only guy she slept with without protection because he has a varicose vein on his nutsack, and that made him infertile. So many DNA tests were done after that kid was born. My baby was just born at 36 weeks. It isn't ideal, but that's a full extra small baby by then. But no one is aborting an 8-month pregnancy because you don't know who the father is. But then you have your just in case the baby is born early bag packed. Me and my wife's marriage has been horrible for the past year. My wife's sister recently moved in. We have a lot of fun together, and she made me realize how unhappy I am in my marriage and I want to divorce. My wife and I have been married for 3 years. Our marriage has been horrible for me in the last year. My wife is always angry, negative, lazy, and blames everything that goes slightly wrong in her life on somebody else except herself. I'm a very outgoing and motivated person, and I like to go out a lot. My wife is less outgoing, but used to always try to make an effort to go out together and have fun. For the past year, she hasn't done anything in our marriage. She is addicted to her phone and TikTok, and barely pays attention when I'm talking or we are doing something. We barely go out anymore, and if we do, she always finds something to get angry at, like a waiter taking a little too long. When we're out eating, she's on her phone watching TikToks and barely communicating with me. She always wakes up moody and angry, and she just destroys the whole vibe. She curses in every other sentence that she says, and huffs and puffs if she has to do something that normal grown adults have to. We have also not been intimate for the past 6 months, and it doesn't look like something's going to change. I always tell her how much I appreciate her, and that I love her, and try to do things together, but she always shuts me down when I suggest doing something because she is tired, but then proceeds to watch Netflix until 2 a.m. She never shows any affection or appreciation towards me. For the past year, I've tried to communicate to her that something needs to change in our marriage, but she just gets angry and avoids the conversation instead of talking. It has gotten to the point that I've stopped caring about our marriage and have just been going along and focusing on my personal life and goals. My wife's sister Elle has recently gotten out of a long-term relationship and has moved in with us temporarily. Elle is the complete opposite of my wife. She's happy, vibrant, talks, and is just fun to be around. Ever since she moved in, we've been spending a lot of time together because my wife doesn't do anything else other than watching Netflix and talking to her friends on FaceTime when she's home. On the rare occasion that she's not doing one of these things, she's out with her friends. Elle is a very active person, so we just do a lot of activities together. She joins me when I go to the park to get some fresh air, she helps me cook when I'm preparing dinner, and even works out with me in my home gym. I always try to get my wife to tag along with us, but she never does. Spending all this time with Elle has totally changed my mood. Being around a person that is positive and doesn't complain about every single thing in their life is so refreshing and fun. But don't get the wrong idea. We have never done anything inappropriate. We have just become really good friends that lift each other up. The past couple of months since Elle moved in have made me realize how unhappy I am in my marriage. Having someone around you that is constantly complaining, cursing, and angry drains every bit of energy that you have. It's depressing, and that's not how I want my life to be. I want to be with someone positive who shows that they care about me and wants to have new experiences together with me. I've tried so hard for the past year to make my marriage work with my wife, but I just get shut down. I don't feel loved anymore and appreciated, and I don't want to be in this position anymore. I want a divorce so I can move on with my life and find someone who actually loves me and cares for me. I have officially checked out of my marriage, and I don't want to turn back anymore. I'm just not completely sure how I should go about this situation now. I know for a fact that I'm going to get trashed by her friends and her family for leaving my wife, and that I'm somehow going to come out as the bad guy. I want this process to be as clean as possible, but I'm not sure how. And now in the comments, go see an attorney. Do what they tell you to do. Present your wife with papers. Done. OP says, yeah, I just need to do it and keep moving. Exactly. The first step is the hardest, but you know that in the end, you will be happier, and maybe the divorce will finally make your wife snap out of this negative loop and be a good thing for her too. I don't think people realize how negative they are, or maybe they do, and they want everyone to be unhappy too. I'm glad that you haven't been sucked into her negative thinking and actions. The way she is behaving may be indications of her resorting to escapism due to diminishing mental well-being. Perhaps you and her sister can compose an action plan to approach her gently so she can seek professional help. Remember, your feelings are completely valid. When someone else you love experiences mental health issues, it usually drags you down too. So please consider taking up individual therapy too, and perhaps couples therapy sometime too. She sounds like she's in a deep depression. I can totally see myself in this description when I'm at my worst with depression, and it's got nothing to do with how I feel about my partner. I don't know how to help. I'm on the other side, and I'm sure it's not a barrel of laughs for my partner either. I can only ask, would she be willing to explore the possibility that she needs help? I'd agree. Further, she probably feels like every criticism of the marriage is an attack on her. This drives defensiveness and depression as well. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it, but make an effort to tell her that it isn't to hurt her feelings, but that you need some actions taken. Framing it like a failing of hers isn't going to save anything. And now on to the update. My first post got a lot of traction. I appreciate all the supportive messages I've gotten, and especially all the people sharing their own experience. You definitely helped me to get some perspective in the matter. The past couple of days, I have been able to clear my head about my marriage. I realized that this is not how I want to spend the rest of my life. I want to be with someone who cares about me and loves me. She clearly doesn't. I want to be with someone who respects me enough to put her phone down when we're having dinner and I'm trying to talk to her and isn't ignoring me to watch TikToks. I'm done trying and getting nothing in return. I am done giving it my all and getting nothing back. I've been trying to communicate and to make things better for a whole year and have been completely neglected. I still have love for my wife, but I am not in love with her anymore. I want to move on with my life and find the right one for me and lead a happy life. I've already been in contact with my divorce attorney and am getting the process started. I turned 32 2 days ago and my wife didn't even acknowledge my existence. Instead, she went out with her friends that night. Even her sister remembered my birthday and got me a present. She was even shocked that my wife ignored my birthday like this. We ended up having dinner together at a restaurant, and she even paid for the both of us. I didn't even feel the need to mention my birthday to my wife, because I knew that at this point, she didn't really care. This really made me lock in my decision. I don't care if she's depressed or not. If she doesn't even care enough about me to remember and acknowledge my birthday, and rather goes out with her friends, I don't want to be with her. People kept saying that we should go to counseling and therapy to patch things out. For the past year, I've been trying to get my wife to couples therapy with me, but she just refuses and gets angry with me, as always. I have tried everything I could have thought of to make my marriage work, but she pretty much shuts everything down that I try. I have tried so hard to make my marriage work and put in so much effort, but now I've had enough of it. A lot of people tried to diagnose my wife with depression in my previous post, but I'm not a medical professional, so I can only talk from my perspective. To me, it seemed like she was living her own life without me, and that she would get frustrated with everything that I got involved in. I'm not going to say if she doesn't have depression. That's not for me to determine. Whether she has it or not, I don't find that a valid excuse to treat me the way she has been for the past year. She didn't even have the respect to communicate and talk to me like a decent human being instead of being on her phone or ignoring me. If she has depression, she'll have to figure that out on her own without me. A lot of people were also suggesting that I just want a divorce to get with her sister. That's not true. I want a divorce so I can get myself out of this miserable marriage and so I can move on with my life. I have no plans on pursuing her sister. I'm getting this divorce for my own well-being. Elle said that she finds the divorce unfortunate, but that she supports my decision. She even suggested that we stay friends after because we get along great. When I told her that I was divorcing her, some little bit in me hoped that she would realize what has been happening in the past year and try to apologize and make things good again or something. Instead, she started getting angry with me and started yelling at me. As always, instead of taking responsibility, she started blaming me. At this point, I stopped caring and didn't respond to all her yelling. I told her that my decision was final. I also suggested her to see a medical professional to figure her possible depression out, but what she does with that advice is really none of my concern. Elle knew that something was up and tried to talk with my wife about what was going on, but pretty much got dismissed and yelled at for getting her nose in our business. For now, I'll be sleeping on the couch and living my own life. Elle informed me that she is moving out and was able to find a place, so I'll be taking the guest bedroom when she gets out. I'm in the middle of trying to figure things out with my lawyer, and hopefully we will be able to move fast in this divorce. But probably not. I'm mentally preparing myself for everything that will happen to me socially, and I accept that. I just want this to be over so I can move on with my life. And now in the comments, it takes two to tango. Be at peace knowing you did everything you could. You'll find someone better someday. And OP says, thanks. In fact, you've already found someone better. Yourself. You've got your own back, which is a massive thing and more than many people achieve. Be proud of that. I believe him that he's not romantically interested in the sister, but he's discovered that it's nice to live with a pleasant person. Being appreciated is underappreciated. OP is lucky to get out of that relationship. I also don't think he was romantically attached to Elle, she just showed him the path and how toxic his wife is. I think sadly, even if he was attracted, he made the right choice not to pursue it just yet. While they may be very compatible and end up being great together, the other alternative is that the bar is just, "You're not as bad as my wife," which is a very low bar given his current situation. So I love that, through this, he's choosing to stay a bit sane and for now, avoid romantic entanglements. Also, having someone else's voice in your ear, someone else watching the situation and can say, "You know, this doesn't seem right." It's also seeing the situation with fresh eyes. OP got so used to what his day-to-day life was like, he just seemed resigned. Having someone else come live with them and witness everything made him more conscious of how screwed things were. It's like when you have people coming over to your place, so you're cleaning, and all of a sudden you start noticing little things like smudges on the wall, or lint on the couch, or whatever. Depression can explain behavior, but never excuses it. Divorce is the correct choice. You can't make someone happy that doesn't want to be happy. And I've suffered from depression for years, and while yeah, I'm more angry and disconnected, I'm also very concerned about my husband. He's been my anchor in the worst depression, so I totally agree. It might explain a bunch of what's going on, and the fact that she changed, but it didn't excuse her choices at all. Our next post is titled, "Wife has almost completely stopped taking care of our toddlers. I need help." So I'll try to keep this as short and to the point as possible. I work a 9 to 5 all week. Wife is a stay-at-home mum to our 2 children. We have a 3.5-year-old son and a 1.5-year-old daughter. An important thing to note is that we barely have any supportive family. Her parents are not in the picture, and my parents live 2 hours away. My wife has been diagnosed with postpartum depression. She refuses to take her medication. She says that she doesn't need it, but she does. Our son is potty trained, but our daughter is still in diapers. She always has a severe diaper rash due to my wife not changing her. She only changes her when our daughter leaks through and stinks, or when I remind her when I'm at work. The house is always a mess. My wife barely cleans. I do all of the laundry, cleaning, grocery shopping, bathing of our children, and their teeth brushing. Did I mention that I also work full-time? I'm also sure that they don't get a proper meal the entire day when I'm at work. They don't eat meals unless I make something, or if I order takeout. Our kids sleep with us because my wife refuses to sleep train them. I hardly sleep despite working a 9 to 5. I'm mostly bitter about the lack of sleep. I don't know what to do anymore. I can't turn to family, my wife thinks that she doesn't have a problem, our kids run wild all day long, and when I come home, it's even worse. Has anyone else experienced this? I love my family, but this has to stop. She doesn't share her part of the workload. And now in the comments, "This is an emergency situation. Your wife is having a mental health crisis, and your kids are being neglected. You have to take action. Call whoever prescribed her the depression meds and explain the situation. They can help guide you to the next steps. In the meantime, try and get your kids into daycare or with your parents." And OP replies, "I would have to agree. She needs to be on her meds first and foremost. I will be calling my parents to see if they can help for a week or so. I'm a stay-at-home mum to just a 2.5-year-old, and I need my weekly 6 hours that my mum takes him. Can you hire a babysitter for 1 day a week, or even on the weekend? That time away is critical for my mental health." Her doctor may even be able to do a 72-hour hold in a psych ward for her if she's having a breakdown. A friend of mine had something similar done when she realized she wasn't right. Doctor convinced her to go to the hospital, where they adjusted her meds, and she stayed until she showed improvement. The OP's wife sounded like she's even lost that perspective. This is a mental health crisis point. And yes, daycare and/or parent. The OP needs to stop thinking of this as, "My wife is not taking her meds." Wife is acutely ill and isn't getting medical care, and the kids are neglected as a result. I had PPD when my daughter was born, and I was neglecting her and refused medication and basically everything your wife is doing. What my husband did was he gave me a 3-day notice to do something, or he was going to have to step in. This was his exact wording. I didn't know what that meant. I was angry at the world, so I called his bluff. I woke up on the 3rd day with my 8-month-old daughter gone, all of her and his stuff, and a note on the door saying, "Bills are paid, there's groceries for 2 weeks in the house, you can call me if you need anything." I quit my job and took our daughter up to my parents' house. "You need help. Let me know what I can do to help you, and we can fix this." That was all I needed. I snapped back, took my medication, went to therapy. 3 weeks later, he moved back in. That was almost 7 years ago, and now I'm a stay-at-home mum to 2 kids, and I love every minute of it. A parent's first job is to the kids. Everything else is second. And now, on to the update. Things were horrific for us last week. I genuinely believed that my wife was suicidal. She would talk frequently about how she wanted to die and how death was so much easier than living. It freaked me out, and rightfully so. I called my parents once and for all. I told them everything that I wrote in the post, and more. They talked to her and demanded that she take the PPD medication, or else they would come down to our house. Mind you, my wife's parents are not in the picture. She says that she actually wanted my parents to come down to our house, and they agreed. My mum can be very brash, but it was effective in the end. My parents came down 2 days after I made the call. They called her doctor and made an appointment for her while they watched the kids. She was prescribed more depression and anxiety medication at a higher dosage. My wife has been taking her new medication for a full week now. Before anyone asks, I make sure that she takes it. She is 100% medicated, and I can tell a clear difference already. She is more relaxed now. It is helping tremendously. It took a day for it to kick in, but she seems healthier and happier so far. The house is cleaner, and the kids are well taken care of. The weather has been nicer, and she takes the kids outside all day when I'm at work, and they all love it. Some more miscellaneous things have happened. Both of my kids are sleeping in their own beds. To my dismay, neither child fought sleeping in their own room that they share. The first night was rough, late last week, but they both understand that they have to do it. Our daughter still wakes up once, but everything else is so much better at night. I love that we have our bed back. My parents paid for my wife to have her nails and hair done. They also watched the kids so she could have an entire day off. My parents bought the kids tons of new toys and books. This helps because they've been more entertained while my wife recovers. My parents arranged for my wife to see a therapist once a week. They are paying for it, and her appointments are after I get home from work. Her first appointment is tomorrow. My parents have left, but they're in contact every single day. My wife is embarrassed, but she says that she feels better. It's only been a week, and I don't know what the future holds. I think that's it. Please, no negative comments. I don't know if this is the perfect solution that everyone will agree with. This is what has happened. It is a daily battle. We will get through it. My wife knows that my parents and I will always love and support her. And also, keep in mind that it's only been a week. Progress has been made, and is being made. Edited to add, I'm pretty sure that the comments were just locked on this post, so I can't respond anymore. Thank you so much to everyone. I appreciate every single comment and message. I know going forward that there will be good days and bad days. There has already been a very bad day since my parents left, but we got through it. I'm trying to establish a long-term fix, not just a band-aid. I plan on updating again in the future. Thank you to everyone again. And now in the comments, this is an amazing result. The biggest thing that spoke to me was, quote, she said she actually wanted my parents to come down to our house. Your wife knew that she had a problem and was willing to accept help. This is a massive and amazing first step. I'm a stay-at-home mum to a 1-year-old and an almost 3-year-old, and we do not have any family/support structure nearby, so I completely understand how hard it is and how lonely it can be. When she's ready, encourage her to reach out to some local mum clubs. If you're religious, or even if you're not, MOPS has chapters in pretty much every state. There are also usually toddler groups around, and also check out your local libraries for any story times and other kids' activities. I try to get out with my two at least 3 or 4 times during the work week, and then once as a family at the weekends. It can make a big difference. You are being a fantastically supportive husband and father, and you have wonderfully understanding parents. And OP replies, "Let me tell you, I was shocked when she agreed to have them come and stay with us. I was so relieved that she could look past herself and see that she needed help. We all need help. I hid how bad it was for so long." Totally random piece of advice, but would your parents pay for a YMCA membership? Your wife could have some me time, swim or exercise or whatever she wants, while the kids are being watched at the YMCA childcare. This would be down the road, of course, when she is more stable. And OP replies, "I have mentioned a gym membership for us both. It's not because we need to lose a bunch of weight, but because I think it'll help us blow off steam. This will be a definite possibility in the winter." Definitely a YMCA membership. It was nice to just go drop off my kids for 2 hours at the daycare and sit in the hot tub and read. There were plenty of times where I would just go sit in the lobby and use the Wi-Fi. Why would anyone say anything negative? Everyone has struggles, everyone has difficulties, and it sounds like you and your parents have helped your wife with hers. That's what family should be about. And OP says, "Some people might think that we didn't do enough to help her. This is working for us so far." And now on to the final update. It has been several months since I have last updated on our situation. I left off with our lives being on the upswing. My wife had started taking her PPD medication, and my parents offered their help to get our family back on the right track. I last posted an update in October. In February, my wife found a man online and moved into his apartment. There was no warning. When I was at work, she moved all of her things out. She brought the kids back over in his car after I got home from work. She couldn't even look me in the eye. She explained that she wasn't happy, and she said that she has never been happy with me or the kids. She told me that I could have full custody, but she would send us some money once she gets a job. She also begged me not to take her to court. Luckily, my work was forgiving enough to give me a week off to figure everything out. My mother ended up moving in with us to help me avoid childcare costs. My father visits on weekends or whenever he can. Meanwhile, my soon-to-be ex-wife is having the time of her life with her new boyfriend. Before coronavirus, they were going on vacations and bar hopping. I'm sure they're having wild sex that we haven't had in years. They've been posting pictures online about how happy they are together. I have never seen her smile so much. He funds her kid-free lifestyle, so no wonder she's so thrilled. He has a child that he doesn't have custody of either. What a classy guy. It hurts so badly that I'm numb. I don't feel anything anymore. I have cried every single day. I'm sure I'm depressed, but I'm keeping it together for the kids. My parents have been my rock, but I feel terrible asking them for so much help in raising my children as a 34-year-old man. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm an essential worker, so thankfully I still have employment. That's the only blessing in my life aside from my kids. I never imagined my life would be this screwed up. It got so screwed up in a matter of months, I never saw it coming. Thanks to everyone that gave me advice previously. I don't think anyone can give me advice on how to get through this one, but I wanted to get my thoughts out. And now in the comments, it hurts a lot right now, and that hurt will be there for a long time, but it does get easier. You'll build a new life with your kids and make new happy memories. They'll get to have a close relationship with your parents. They will learn what it's like to grow up in a household where love and respect and kindness and caring are in abundance, and they will feel safe, secure, and happy. Someday you will feel a different kind of sadness, not for what she did, but for all that she left behind and missed out on. My cousin had something very similar happen. His wife announced that she had never been happy and then left the next day. Overnight, he became a single parent to 4 girls, 4-year-old twins, a 2-year-old, and a 5-month-old. We circled the wagons, because that's what friends and family do when they care about you and your kids. If you're worried about the childcare duties being a burden to your parents, start building your network of other friends and family who can help out. I'm not going to lie, the next couple of years were almost impossibly difficult, but one day, he got to chatting with a parent from his middle daughter's dance class. She was widowed and had one daughter the same age. A few months passed, and he asked if she'd like to get coffee. 18 months later, and they were married. They are about to celebrate their 10th anniversary, their 5 daughters have grown into wonderful young women, and they've built a happy life together. The ex-wife has come in and out of the picture, but hasn't maintained real relationships with any of the girls, and all my cousins can say is how sad it is that she will never know what she missed. Good luck. And OP replies, "Thank you for sharing this. I'm nowhere near ready to start dating again, but one day I will be. I don't know how the next year will pan out. I'll say this, my mum did this to me when I was 15 and my sisters were 2 and 8. I've honestly never forgiven her for it, and I loved my father a lot. He was a literal saint, and the courts would not remove my mother's custody rights in spite of her being a literal meth head and an alcoholic. Please get a lawyer and protect yourself and your kids. The fact that you're upset and crying and depressed means you're a human and a good person and not a psychopath. Please also take care of yourself. My father's depression slowly ate away at him until he died. You're a good person and a good man. You will make mistakes, but life isn't about being the best, it's about trying to be better." Wow, this just went from sad to effing depressing. I'm glad the guy is getting some help at least, but damn. I was so happy with the first update. Everyone came together and got her the help that she needed. It was so promising. And then the second one, my god, poor OP. This is really sad, but the thing that sticks out to me as odd is the medication thing. If she hadn't been taking any medication prior to the appointment, they would likely, absolutely not start her off on a higher dosage, as you usually need to titrate yourself up to the higher, more therapeutic doses. The "it took a day to kick in" thing is weird too. I've experienced feeling a little better in the days after taking meds, but not like a lot. Especially after apparently being depressed, etc. for so long. Though the placebo effect is strong, and having the in-laws there for support was likely helpful. Anxiety meds are usually more acute and fast-acting, so I can see that being a thing. Anyway, this sucks. Sorry, OP. I'm glad your parents are helping and supporting you, and I hope that you are doing better. As a person on anti-anxiety meds that went through PPD, I can vouch for this. It took about a month to get through the initial symptoms of starting the medication. Dizziness, nausea, extreme drowsiness, etc. to get to the part where I was more relaxed. They started at the minimum dosage, and then upped it as I acclimated. Sure, everyone is different, but it says right on the prescription to allow 2 to 3 weeks before contacting a doctor about the symptoms, and the doctor mentioned a month for the timeline before she prescribed it. I wonder if she faked getting better to get everyone off her back. My adopted brother feels as though the family doesn't love him. My parents have 5 kids, 27 female, 26 male, and then me and my twin brother and our adopted brother are all 23, and we are 23 female and then 2 23 males. John was adopted when his bio parents, who were close friends with our parents, died when he was just a few months old. So this has been a slowly building thing for years now, but really got called to everyone's attention in the past 5 years. I remember growing up with John, normally, as any siblings would, and all of our other siblings say the same. We played, we fought, we made up, we broke our parents' crap. The past 5 years have been somewhat strange. At first we thought that it was just John being John, but now after I've spoken with him, we discovered it was more than we thought. First off, John left the day that he turned 18, which was a surprise because he had good grades, and everyone assumed he would go to college like the rest of us. He graduated one semester early and left the house on his 18th birthday, which was a shock to everyone. He earned money doing chore work for our dad and uncles, and had bought his own car, and apparently saved enough to get an apartment. It was weird, and my parents were sad, but more than that, they were proud and happy for him. Dad offered John money to help him start out life on his own, but John refused and said that he would be fine. My parents were insanely proud of John. They're not typically the brag on my kid kind of people, but they were telling everyone how independent and responsible and mature and fearless John was. Now, it's important to note that us siblings were always fairly close. I cried the first night that John was gone, and I wanted my dad to figure out a way to make him come back, because I was scared that he would die or something. So when the communication suddenly was almost nothing, it was weird. And we missed him, but our parents said that he was busy working and taking care of himself, and that when he had settled and figured things out, he would be back to his normal self. It never happened though, and he also stopped really talking to them. He would talk to us around birthdays and holidays, but even then it was strange. He always tries to meet up with siblings for dinner or drinks on birthdays, always visits our parents very quickly on their birthdays, and Mother's and Father's Day, and on Thanksgiving and Christmas. He is in and out. For example, our older brother was the only one there when John was there for our mum's most recent birthday, and he said John was very clinical, and that it felt more like a soldier was paying respect to a commanding officer than anyone visiting their parents. One thing about this that stood out was that John talked to our mum and dad and brother about a lot going on in his life. Apparently he's got a girlfriend and just got a dog and has a great new job in construction. No one knew any of this, and Dad cracked a joke about how they were terrible parents because how could they not know anything about what was going on in one of their kids' lives? After John left, our mum looked sad, and when our older brother asked her what was wrong, she said that it felt like John didn't want to be around her and that she missed him, before she refused to say anything more about it. So our older brother started a group chat with everyone but John to ask about if any one of us had noticed anything wrong with him. We had all talked about how distant he had been over the years, but never like this talk. At the end of it, we all arranged to meet up with John and try to talk to him to make sure everything was okay. It took some effort to get him to open up, but he finally did, and what he said really rocked our family. He said that I'm not their real son. We all immediately tried to reassure him that Mum and Dad love him, and we do too, but he had all of these stories about how Mum and Dad had treated him differently. There were lots of examples. Things like older brother would hug or kiss Mum on the cheek, but she'd push John off if he had tried to do the same. Dad would happily talk sports with anyone, but would be short with John. Our grandparents were never excited to see him. Aunts and uncles not interested in him or his hobbies or what was going on at school. One incident where Dad asked each boy to go on a hunting trip and never asked John until they were leaving, and when he did finally ask, you could tell Dad was annoyed. And my brothers did confirm this one because they thought that it was weird how Dad acted too. When John said that he was fine with not going, they said Dad looked happy about it. John would ask for help with schoolwork. Mum or Dad would say that they were tired, or tell him to ask the teachers, but they'd stay up with the rest of us. You get the idea. There was a lot of stuff, and enough of us witnessed it that we don't think that he was misremembering things or making them up. John wasn't bitter or angry about this. He said that he understood that they wouldn't be able to love him the same way that they loved us, and that it would be inhuman of me to ask that of them, which broke my heart. He said that he refused the money from Dad because he would have felt badly about him using it on him instead of his real children. He said he will always love them and respect them and be grateful for their sacrifices for raising him, but that it was too painful to be around them for too long because he knew that they couldn't be what he wanted and that he couldn't be what they wanted. Our older sister was impassioned by this and told my parents about it. It was a shit show. Mum crying, dad punching a wall. They are both ashamed and hurt and insist that they love him just as much they do the rest of us. Now John knows that our parents know that he's upset and is apprehensive about coming around, which is understandable. We love our brother, and our parents love him too, and we all miss him. How do we fix this? And now in the comments, coming from an adopted child, feeling like you aren't accepted by your family is your worst nightmare, and the most painful experience that I've ever been through. I've only been rejected, slightly, same ways as your brother, by my uncle, and it has caused countless nights of just crying myself to sleep because I'm not enough. I'm not his niece, and I never will be. I truly hope that you can find a way to fix it, but please understand that it might not ever be the same. Since you were close, it might patch itself up easier between you two, but the hurt that your parents and sister have done is unbelievable. Ask him what he wants you to do next. Reassure him that you are still his sister, and if he doesn't want you to be a sister to him, be a friend until he's able to realize you are truly his sister and you love him. Please also keep an eye on his mental state. The realization I had with my uncle led me down a dark road of depression and very scary thoughts. One thing that helped me was doing the DNA testing and finding birth family members. Maybe he has some other members of his birth family that he could reach out to and meet. My heart is with you. I wish you, your family, and your brother all the luck. I have a similar relationship with my stepfather. It never felt like I was one of his kids. He wouldn't get me from school, he would be very impatient with me, but very patient with his kids. He disowned me over an argument once, etc. It was always weird coming back to my mum's and visiting. Like John, they brag about me, but I never felt like I was his kid because he didn't treat me like the rest. You can't make your family whole again. It never really was. But you can reach out to John and build an adult relationship with him. Don't even bring up his relationship with your parents. Just let him know that you love him and your love isn't contingent on what anyone else thinks. Not trying to beat you down, but given that John had a whole host of clear and concise examples, many of whom you and others remembered, he isn't exactly wrong. He might not have been the second choice to you, but he very much was the second choice to your parents and several of your siblings. Your sister went and confirmed all of this for him. Your parents' reaction to it is bad. Your sister likely burned any bridge that still existed, not just for herself or your parents, but for all of you. That your parents are ashamed, if anything, proves that they did indeed prefer the other children over the adopted one. They can't refute any of the points that he made. They likely remember them. Their anger and denial are just them acknowledging it in a way, but not wanting it to be true. And now back up to the post, there is an edit. Editing this to add that I just learned from her that apparently, Mum had a talk with John and asked him if he had any improper feelings about us, which, holy crap, if nothing else, made him feel like an outsider that did. And now on to the update. So the first people I wanted to really talk to were my parents. I didn't share everything that John shared with us in the thread that I made, but there were so many things that they had done that were just downright cruel. The conversation was fairly quiet and extremely emotional. I only write adopted brother here because I want to communicate with the people reading, but in my heart, he's just my brother. So when I detailed the things that John remembered, I began to cry, and it hurt even more because I almost wanted my parents to deny it. I wanted them to be sure that they would never do anything so mean, and that maybe John was remembering things wrong. They never denied anything though. When specific instances arose, you could see them turn their heads or eyes away in shame. They would get up and pace, and then put their heads down. Never a denial. When I asked them, most times they said they didn't realize that they were doing something, or that they were just too careless. They kept saying that there was no excuse for it. I asked my father specifically about the fishing trip that he didn't invite John on, and he said that he had asked the other boys, it just never crossed his mind to go out of his way and ask John. I asked them both why they didn't help him with the homework or make sure that their 18-year-old leaving had a solid plan and would be safe. I never got a response on that. I asked my mum about why she pushed John off when he tried to be affectionate towards her, and her response is the one that really leaves me at a loss. She was very honest and said that in her mind, she couldn't ignore the fact that he was a sexually mature male who was not biologically related. She said it felt no different having my other brothers hug and kiss her as babies as it would today, but that around the time John went through puberty, she couldn't see him as one of her babies anymore. She said her instinct then became to protect her daughters, just in case. She said it was hard, and she wasn't happy about it, but she'd rather have protected us and gone too far to John's detriment than been too lax to our detriment. She said when John left, she felt relieved. After talking with them, I spoke with my older sister, who was still very angry. Same with our other siblings. We all, the siblings, love him and want him back in our lives like before. We don't want to lose him. I reached out to John, and it was a bittersweet conversation to have. We both were happy to be talking to each other, we still have our inside jokes and things like that, and we can hang out like nothing ever happened. But when we spoke about re-establishing our old relationship, he said that it would be difficult. He said he would love to be my brother, but that he feels gross around us girls because of Mum, and that he feels like less than around our brothers. He said that loneliness sucks, but it's better than feeling like people would rather not have you around. He said he felt like a family friend that everyone liked, but who stuck around for too long. We both ended up crying. It was very ugly. We at least decided that we'd try as siblings. Now in the comments, he said he felt like a family friend that everyone liked, but who stuck around too long. The sad thing is, that is exactly how your parents felt. Which is exactly why he feels that way. OP's parents did a disservice by raising John and should have let him be adopted and loved by a family that actually wanted him. John was punished on so many levels just for purely existing. Despite all the child trauma that John experienced, I'd say that he turned out rather well, appears to be the adult in this whole situation. Unfortunately, that's exactly the result of childhood trauma. Kids in traumatic situations can wind up becoming mature ahead of their peers and shouldering adult burdens instead of enjoying childhood and adolescence. Our society tends to reward it rather than recognizing it as a yellow flag for a kid who needs more support. Wow, his bio parents would be heartbroken if they knew how his adoptive parents treated their son. This is all I thought of. They probably thought that since their friends were such good parents to their bio children, that they'd be equally great to their son. In the end, their friends treated their son like a potential abuser once he hit puberty. Usually with adoptions, the kids are picked. This poor kid was forced on these people, and they sure made him feel that way. I can see why he'd just want to stay away from all of them, even the siblings that reached out. It brings back too much pain. Jesus effing Christ, that poor boy. To have the person that you call mum treat you like a predator as soon as you hit puberty solely because you didn't come out of her, wow. Just wow. Their friends are rolling in their graves. Just horrible. And like, what a screwed up line of thinking. Does she not get that predators have mothers too? They didn't just zap into existence. And when did blood relation or not stop someone from being a predator? Siblings assault is definitely a thing, as is incest. None of her logic even makes any sense. Am I the asshole for yelling at my stepdad for snooping in my apartment after he was upset about what he found? So about a week ago, I, 22 female, asked my parents, 47 male and 40 female, if they could stop by my apartment just to check on my dog who had been sick while I was at work. My mum agreed and everything seemed fine. They went over, gave my dog his medicine, and took him for a walk. Today though, I went to my parents' place for dinner and my stepdad refused to speak to me or even look at me. Eventually, I finally asked what the problem was, and he went off. Apparently, he had been going through my things, and when he went to my bedside drawer, he found my toys and contraceptives. He yelled at me and told me that I was a disappointment and foul for having those things, and that he didn't raise me for 17 years for me to become a deviant whore. I stood there absolutely shocked and bright red from embarrassment as my younger brothers and grandparents were in the next room and could hear him. I yelled at him for invading my privacy, telling him that I'm an adult woman and that he had no right to go through my things in an apartment that I pay the bills in. I banned him from my home and have now blocked him. My mum says that I'm being dramatic and that it just caught him off guard to see those things, but my brothers think that I'm right to be angry. So, am I the asshole? Edit. Just to clarify, he's been very abusive in the past, which came about after I started hitting puberty. Me growing up and maturing always seemed to be an issue. Also, my toys and such were in my bedroom in my bedside table, so not anywhere that he should have been. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I could be the asshole for yelling at my stepdad in front of everyone and banning him from my home. I feel like doing that could make me the asshole because he is my parent and he made a mistake and I could have talked it out responsibly. Now in the comments, not the asshole. He went into your room, into your drawer, knowing exactly what he was looking for. He wanted to find those things because he wanted to weaponize them against you. Your comments about his abuse confirms this. You did absolutely the right thing. Not the asshole. He called you a whore, he snooped through your crap and broke your trust. Where is the confusion here? OP says, I've grown up with him and his abusiveness, so sometimes I need others to remind me that I'm not crazy in the way that I react to it. OP, do not trust your contraceptives if you do not trust this man. He has snooped, and it's not a leap if he's shaming you for being sexually active for him to do what he can to punish you with natural consequences. If he is this manipulative, tampering with birth control can make you more vulnerable to his abuse. Oh, this is a big one. Replace all of your contraceptives, OP. I've heard my fair share of poked the wrapper with a pin and dropped it in hot sauce stories. Not saying it's a guarantee, or even likely necessary, but I wouldn't risk it. Not the asshole. Your stepfather had no business even entering your bedroom, let alone rifling through your things when he did. Your mother is complicit in his bullcrap, and should be banned from your home right alongside him. You just know that he bitched to the mum on the drive home, and there's no way she didn't know about the rest of the abuse. She's just as much at fault. And OP replies, my mother has been a victim of lifelong abuse. She insists nothing was said to her until he said something to me. My mum is also a victim here though. That doesn't absolve her of her responsibility to you. And OP says, you're right, but he has done horrible things to my mother, like things that will get me banned from this page for typing out that have warped her mindset. While your mother is an abuse victim, her first instinct should have been protecting her child from the abuse. Did she ever protect you, or did you do it yourself? Easy to say. If you're a victim of abuse, you often have no idea what you're capable of. You think you're trying, but you barely scratched the surface. It's like those elephants that are being held by simple ropes. They could easily break free, but they've learned they couldn't, so they believe it. Also, elephants think of us as adorable. This also clouds their judgment. It's similar with love. And now on to the update. Here is a more positive update for everyone. My mum and I met for breakfast this morning. The first thing she did was apologize and tell me that I had every right to act the way I did and that she should have been in my corner. She looked into divorce, but I have 2 brothers who are underage, and because she works so much and travels for work, she's afraid that she will lose my brothers and have to pay 16 years of alimony. Update 2, I got home today after reading all these comments. Thank you everyone for your amazing support. And I found that 2 of the condoms had been opened and 1 had a hole in it. I got rid of them, and my friend with benefits went and got new ones for us. Thank you for the people telling me to check them. Getting pregnant would be excruciating for me because of my AS and my endometriosis. I cleaned all of my toys just to be safe, and I took the spare keys from my parents. Update 3. This hopefully will be my last update. My locks have been changed, and my mum has started speaking to a lawyer about divorce more seriously after learning about everything. The one thing that I ask is that everyone does not badmouth my mother. She has been through hell. Her own father was abusive from the age of 17, and at 17 made her marry my biological father, who was abusive and a drunk, and no, she is married to another abuser. Abusers seek out those that are traumatized and easy to abuse. He seemed perfect when they dated, and nothing changed until I was about 9 or 10. 5 years of marriage at that point. And now in the comments, stepdad is a disgusting creep, and her mother needs to gather all the support she can get and throw him out before he harms the boys. OP needs to change the locks. No way that stepdad dear doesn't have a copy. Change the locks and look for hidden cameras. Dude's a freak. He ripped holes in the condoms. Trying to punish her for having sex with an unwanted pregnancy is some next level psycho crap. That has to be one of the most abject things the mum's husband could do. He expected her to get accidentally pregnant so he could berate her for having either an abortion or a child out of wedlock. He was ready to cause serious trauma and probably F up her health because she didn't live according to his messed up moral values. Yikes. The hole in the condom was such an abhorrent thing. That should be a felony, like a serious one. It's crazy to me that contraceptive sabotage isn't illegal, at least in the States, not sure about elsewhere. I think some places are pushing for stealthing laws, which I could see this possibility falling under, but I'm hardly an expert. Don't need to be an expert to know that reproductive coercion needs to be punishable. Very telling that he started being abusive toward her at the start of puberty. Sounds like he was sexually attracted to his stepdaughter, and instead of one abuse, he chose a different form. Dude is disgusting. Sexualizing the girl he raised, and attempting to get her pregnant. I wouldn't doubt if in his sick, twisted mind, he would feel like he got her pregnant, and that was his baby. He needs to get his ass kicked. Tough marriage story. What would you do? So I've been married for over a decade. My husband is a professional with a high-paying job. He's in a position of taking care of vulnerable people. We have young children. We married quickly. About 2 years in, he tells me that he has had 200 plus sexual partners before me. Men, women, trans women, etc. And he likes to visit with sex workers. We went through a hard time 3 years into the marriage as he was leaving one career for another and we were moving, changing identities, and he fell back into seeking sex from all types of people. This time, it was Craigslist and Backpage looking to dominate trans women and gay men. I found condoms in his bag and he didn't deny it. He's also been contacting old sex partners for about a year. He blamed me for leaving him in the city that we were moving from to work on our new home. Smoothed that over, I had another baby, and he did it again. Sex workers. 4th time, post-COVID, he's been spending tens of thousands. Y'all would freak out about how much money was spent on sex workers, cam girls, and people, and I found him on Ashley Madison and Seeking.com, the sugar daddy website, putting our shared wealth out there and telling young people on the site how dominant but generous he was going to be with them. I read through the messages and saw some of these people. Lots of young people, barely 18. One girl was 4'10" and looked about 14 maybe. Some days, he would pay cam girls to talk to him for 5 to 6 hours while he pretended like he was asleep in another room. In case you're wondering, that's about $800 per chat. To say the intimacy has tanked between us is an understatement. There has been a touch of domestic violence. He has blamed me again for not being emotionally available, which is why I relied on our marriage therapist to help. Unfortunately, she hasn't supported the idea that he has an issue with sexual compulsive behavior because it could ruin his career. I am at a loss. Having this all normalized, like I just need to get over it. I want real intimacy with someone. This man has a lot of good qualities, but I don't want to be entering my 40s and forever wondering which website I can locate him on. Of course, people who know him professionally think he is the most upstanding person on the planet. Help me. What would you do? And now in the comments, good qualities? Where? I'm not seeing it. He's cheated multiple times and there has been physical violence. Why are you staying with this man? What would I do? I would divorce this guy faster than I could type this sentence. And OP replies, I stayed for the first 8 years because I was afraid of being alone. He told me for years, you have no family. I stopped believing that with therapy and saw that I actually have value outside of being married to this man. Thank you. Please get out. Get out before your children learn that this is acceptable behavior. It is not. It's sucking the life out of you and showing your children that this is normal. It's not. I would far rather spend my 40s alone than to be saddled with a pedophilic, sex-addicted cheater with a touch of domestic violence on the side. I have no idea why staying with this man would be preferable to being single. What would you do? Decline to marry him in the first place, but in your present shoes, initiate divorce. Life is far too short to subject yourself to such gruesome humiliation. I would hire a good lawyer, bulldog, as well. It sounds like, with his habits, especially contrasted against that sterling reputation, you might have a decent amount of leverage to spin. Get the absolute best lawyer that you can and do every single thing that they tell you. Don't give up. Be strong, build a safer, healthier home for the sake of yourself and your kids. Leave. It'll be the hardest thing that you ever do, but the best. When you read this back in 12 months, you'll just think, what the F was I thinking? He has issues, but they are not yours to solve. Protect your energy at all costs. And OP replies, thank you. I can't deal with the issues anymore. I fell into the trap of, we have young kids together, stay for the kids, or we own stuff together, and it's hard to divide. But I cannot live another year of my life without sound emotional intimacy with someone who I trust completely with my body and mind. Thank you. And now on to the update. I told my husband that I didn't want to be married, then he assaulted me. I was here a few months ago looking for advice about my husband's excessive spending and sexually compulsive behavior with sex workers. Today, I found hotel check-ins on his credit card. Then he was pushing me for physical affection that I did not want, and our marriage therapist asked him not to do it because he wasn't respecting my body. Instead, he said, I could just leave you. Meanwhile, I've been mounting a divorce and lining things up for 5 months very carefully. He pushed me for a renewed commitment and asked if I wanted to be married, and I just said, no. And then I told him about the hotel charges, which he denied despite there being clear evidence. Then, I walk away to my car and he runs after me yelling, "Are you scared now?" He weighs 100 pounds more than me and is a vet with PTSD and all the scary personality traits. I jumped in the car and he yanked me out by my arm. The car is moving with nobody in it. I get away from him and get it in park, lock the doors, and he's trying to open them. Then I try to drive off, and he jumps in front of my car, leaving knee dents in the hood, playing an action movie out like a wild man assassin. I call the police because I'm stuck in the locked car, and my kids are still inside. The cops arrive, we're there for 3 hours. Husband tells them that I tried to run him down with the car, while bruises and scrapes are forming all over my arm. I called his brother so I wouldn't be alone with him when he refused to leave. I told them all that I'd leave, but only with the kids. He finally left, and I left with the kids once he was gone. He's currently on probation with the medical board in our state due to his addictions. He's been erratic and threatening his own family after leaving his inpatient center early. Tomorrow is it. I file and get the civil protection order request in place. I just needed to be heard. Thank you. And update, I filed for divorce and the protection orders for my kids and myself today. Lots of progress, left the home to a safe place, informed the school about the situation, and have been supported. Made arrangements to hide out, and I have a huge protective web of friends that I've made here, and they are all showing up. I am very prepared with all of the information and care that everyone provided here. Thank you all. I hope that this post filled with support and resources is a gift to all of us that need to hear this. And now in the comments, I'm glad you're getting out. PSA to others, marriage/couples counseling is not a good solution when there is any kind of domestic violence. 9 times out of 10, it just gives the abusive partner more ammo with which to manipulate. And OP says, this is so correct. I was no longer going for us as a couple to salvage a marriage, but in hopes that he could learn to reasonably co-parent. Not surprisingly, we have been through 3 of them recently. The second one was afraid of him and fired us as clients when he came at her verbally aggressively for supporting me in any way. Most recent one was very focused on his behaviors and obsession with chasing me and was very supportive. She asked if I needed closure to please come back alone. It kinda sounds like until he gets his mental health and addiction issues taken care of, he's not going to be able to parent, let alone co-parent. He needs to just go away for a while and work on himself. That can be months, a year, who knows? I know it sounds harsh, but until he does that for himself, it's not going to be healthy for the kids to be around that. I've lived similar. Veterans and emergency services guys tend to try to cloud violence with addiction and mental illness, but the violence is a clear choice. I hope you find meaningful supports. And OP says, well, he's both. He's a veteran and is the highest level of emergency services in the civilian world. He looks like he has it very together until he began completely falling apart at the seams. It turns out he has never fully gotten it together, but he looked very polished living a double life for 8 years. If he doesn't lash out like this with others but does with you, he's able to control it but chooses to abuse you. I can't stress this enough. This is something that really bothers me. If you can control your behavior with others and unleash it on your spouse and family, then they know exactly what they are doing. It's a choice, a really screwed up and scary one. My partner is a vet that has been forcefully institutionalized for trying to kill someone. He is considered 100% disabled by the VA. He sometimes talks in third person and tries to crush spiders that aren't there. He's never tried to hurt me and has only ever raised his voice at me once. When he raised his voice to me, it was 1 sentence. I told him to never speak to me that way, and he hasn't since. He could not possibly keep his crap together to be the highest level of anything. Your spouse is lying and is using mental health as a cover so he can do what he wants to with minimal consequences. And OP says, okay, my attorney agrees. Learned this today. He wants to know how my husband has a PTSD DX from the VA based on being non-combat and never experiencing behaviors like you described above. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I have to look into this with evidence-based research. Today, I screwed up by hiding in my girlfriend's room while her parents are home. As the title says, I'm currently effing up by being in my girlfriend's room. You may be thinking that she's here with me, scared to be caught, but she's not. In fact, she is nowhere near me because she's at school. My girlfriend and I live about an hour away from each other, and she has school, so you can imagine seeing each other is not the easiest thing right now. My girlfriend also lives with her parents, and she's Asian, meaning no boyfriend until college, though her mum seems okay with it. On Wednesday, we developed a plan to have me sleep over at her house without getting caught. The plan was simple. I would come over when her parents were gone at work, as they own a restaurant, and I would leave in the morning when her dad takes her to school because her mum would still be sleeping. It went great. I made it out and even ran to my car, which wasn't necessary because by the time her dad was coming back, I was driving out of her neighborhood. Fast forward to that night, I ended up going back over. Thursday goes good. I go to her room in the morning and end up going back to sleep until she comes home. Now it's Friday morning, and her dad almost caught us because he wanted to take the recycling out, but she quickly got it for him. Then she leaves, and I lock her bedroom door and settle in her bed where I'll be for the next 7 hours, waiting for her to come back. Her dad comes back, comes upstairs and tries to open the door. Crap. It's locked. He pauses, turns the light on. I assume he looks in her brother's room, then tries the door again. Still locked for obvious reasons he does not know about. He says something to himself. I don't speak Chinese, but I really wish I did, and then goes back downstairs where he sleeps on the couch. I text girlfriend, almost dying because of how scared I am to get caught. She tells me to chill, tells me they don't have keys to their doors, and the only way to open it is to take the handle off. She texts her dad saying the door is locked and she can unlock it later. He says okay. Her dad doesn't always listen, so that worries me. I'm pretty sure her dad went back to sleep now and her mum isn't awake. Now I'm currently laying in her bed wide awake, texting her, asking my parents what to do. They've had similar experiences and got caught, and trying to not freak the F out because I can't do anything. Escaping is impossible. Her window has blinds and a screen and is on the 2nd story. Going downstairs and out the door is foolish, as her dad sleeps on the couch and the stairs are noisy. Plus, I have no idea what time her mum wakes up. I have no choice but to sit it out for the next 7 hours. Maybe try to get some rest, but I doubt I will. Anyone have any advice? She's 19 and I'm 20. Her parents don't even know that she has a boyfriend. I imagine they will be beyond pissed if they find out that I'm here. We'll both be screwed. Not only is she dating me, but I'm staying in her house without them knowing. It's scary to think that there could be someone in your house and you wouldn't even know it. I feel bad for doing this, but I love my girlfriend, and I'm literal melted butter in her hands. And now in the comments, in before dad uses Reddit and reads this. You blew it, man. You had your opportunity. You should have snuck over to her brother's room earlier, and then when her dad found you, said you were dating him. OP says, I could probably pass as gay, but I look way too young for my age as it is. Her brother is a year older, and not to mention he's 4 hours away at university. Anyone can pass as gay. Just say, I'm gay. It's like magic. Dad walks into her brother's room, OP jumps out of the closet while screaming, I'm gay! Father and OP walk hand in hand on the beach while the sun is setting. Can your girlfriend not just call the father and lure him from the house? Dad, can you come pick me up some headache tablets and drop them to me at school? I'm in agony. I feel like the point we're missing is that OP doesn't want to leave. OP wants to stay and chill with girlfriend, but not get caught. Quote, she texts her dad, seeing the door is locked and she can unlock it later, and he says okay. Her dad doesn't always listen, so that worries me. This seems suspicious. If I was the dad, I would be thinking, I tried the door to her room and then randomly got a text from her about the door being locked like she knew that I tried the door. Seriously, what the hell? If I was dad, tried opening my daughter's room door, found out it was locked, and then got a random text from her at school saying she would unlock it, how do you not raise an eyebrow? And OP replies, I honestly think he doesn't care that much. He's usually on his phone all the time, and now he's sleeping. Also, not really sure how he'd put the pieces together. And now back up to the post, we have lots of updates. I probably should have gotten up with her right away, but I chose to stay in bed. Now I have to poop really badly. About 6 more hours to go though. Rip my bowels and my asshole. Also, for some reason, everything in her house frickin' creaks, so I have to be very careful with what I do in bed, sleeping position wise. Update, 9:54 AM, about 5 more hours. I still have to poop, but not as badly though. However, a new problem has arose. I grabbed a hard-boiled egg earlier when her dad was gone, 2 baby oranges, and a piece of Hawaiian bread. I ate the egg obviously because I can't really eat all day, and most of one of the baby oranges, and 2 bites off the little square of bread. My tummy feels a bit weird. I hope I don't throw up because it's very hard to be silent while your guts spill on the floor. I also think of napping, but too afraid that I'll let out a massive fart or just make some noise. Girlfriend stopped replying due to class. I've given up the idea of escaping a long while ago. The dad is of no concern, pretty mid-level threat, but low for now. Mum is high level once she wakes up though. Hopefully she'll leave for work, but it looks like that might not happen as she isn't awake yet and supposedly would leave at 10:30. Quick update, 9:55 AM. Mum is awake and went downstairs. I think she'll make breakfast or something. Dad is talking to Mum, don't know what about. Hope they don't try the door again. Really feel like I'm gonna crap and throw up now. Good update, 10:03 AM. Good news, pretty sure the mum just left. Pretty sure that I can hear her dad snoring. I can finally relax a little, might actually catch some shut-eye. Off to play a bit of FIFA Mobile, and then maybe sleep for a few hours. Okay, another update since it was asked for, 10:20 AM, mum's long gone for sure, and dad's asleep. Not snoring, but I'm pretty sure he's sleeping. Unfortunately, girlfriend hasn't answered texts for the last 2 hours. I finally beat a team in FIFA after playing them for the 20th time. Every time the air conditioner turns on, it makes this loud-ass noise. So every time that happens, I get spooked. I'm glad everyone is getting a good laugh out of it. Someone thought this post was fake, which is fine. I'm not really sure how to prove that it's real. As I said before, hiding under the bed is impossible. The only place to hide is her closet, which will be a tight squeeze. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. Dad will probably sleep all day, as he stays up all night talking to his friends in China, so his body is in another time zone. Might just nap when the girlfriend comes home, as she usually naps after class. Thanks for the good luck, see you in around an hour, or when something interesting happens. Update, 11:40 AM. Hello, my girlfriend knows this exists now, so hello. Enjoy my pain and these comments. So far, Dad is still asleep, Mum is at work, AC still spooks me. Here's some answers to questions. Girlfriend's birthday is late. Yes, Dad works, but he can't handle work, so he goes later, at around 6 I think, and I'll make it clear now that I'm not planning to escape. It would be stupid. I truly think that girlfriend's dad doesn't care enough to try and bust down the door. Also, yes, Florida is a stand your ground, but Dad doesn't own guns, just knives. I feel like I could run faster, as I used to play soccer and have been practicing boxing for years, and more recently Muay Thai, so I know how to run and fight. To those asking for proof, if you tell me how to upload a pic, then I'd have no problem doing that. As for my poop situation, I still have to go, but it's not that bad anymore. Yes, I have a bit of orange and bread left, and I have headphones that are supplying me with some nice Spotify service. Also, I played campaign mode in FIFA, finally beat Chapter 2 after 3 days. See you in an hour. Update. Anyways, good news. As we speak, I am shitting in the toilet. Dad left, pooping has never felt so good. I'll update you when my girlfriend comes back. Update. Girlfriend is gone, I pooped as soon as the dad left. Yes, I know it's stupid staying longer, but now that my girlfriend is home, I'm safe. For those who are asking why I didn't leave when I got the food, there was a very tiny window to do things, and I didn't have my bag packed. There will be one more update after this when I get home, the true safe zone. As for now, the girlfriend and I are going to play FIFA and chill until I have to leave. Final update. Hello, I'm at my house in bed, nowhere near my girlfriend's parents. I have pooped twice. It went well, thank you for asking. About my girlfriend's age, she went to school in China at first and has a late birthday. Therefore, she's making up credits and will be going to actual uni soon. She's not finished university and gotten a degree, therefore, no boyfriend. For those of you saying that she's an adult and her parents don't control her, they do. As long as she lives there and they support her financially. Not to mention that she isn't white, she's Asian, Chinese specifically. I myself am Italian and Cuban, so the same rules go for me until I move out. I'm planning to go before the end of next year. Many of you ask why I didn't leave when her dad left to pick her up, instead pooping. First off, I had to poop so badly. Secondly, I won't see her for a while, and recently she got hurt, so I've been helping tend to her wounds so she doesn't need to go to the hospital. Mum's a nurse, and she's taught me everything since I was young. I wanted to be there for her in person. And also, yes, her parents own a restaurant. I won't post any more updates. And now to the final permanent update. Yes, it's about almost a year later. She broke up with me a few months ago. I'm glad you all enjoyed my pain, Lamau. Just wanted to write this just in case anyone comes back to read this and is wondering what happened almost a year later. I'm currently happy, perhaps have a bit of a thing going on with a different girl. I'm mentally and physically better than when I did this stupid crap, and I will never do this again, and I don't suggest anyone else does it. I had about 5 heart attacks throughout the whole thing, and it was a shitty thing to do. If I was the dad and I found out, I would be beyond pissed. Sorry, Mr. X's dad. And yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing better, so I hope that you enjoy your day and night. And now in the comments, pleasantly surprised that it didn't end in chaos or violence. But yeah, not the wisest move for OP, all told. He seems to have learned his lesson. I'm glad he's okay now, hopefully pooping regularly when he needs to. I'm surprised the dad didn't get suspicious when the daughter texted. Seems like a random text for daughter to send that her door was locked. How would she have known the dad was trying to get in? Hey dad, just texting you out of the blue right after you tried my door to let you know that I accidentally left it locked, because that's a thing that I do sometimes. And I like to, sometimes tell you about it when I do it. Haha, Lamau, talk to you later, bro. I know they're not technically kids, but this really feels like a kids are stupid moment. Horny teenagers works perfectly. Man, I can't imagine being so horny that I'd sleep over in a hostile situation like that. This post reminds me that I'm so happy that I'm not a teenager anymore. I'd be pooped after all those events too. Dude sounds like he had a crappy day. Am I the asshole for ruining mine and my friend's joint gender reveal party? I, female 28, am currently 8 months pregnant with mine and my husband's, male 32, first child. And while we are over the moon, neither of us were ever super invested in the idea of throwing a gender reveal party. My sister, female 26, hosted a baby shower for me a couple of months ago, and I felt that that was more than enough. Recently, my best friend Amy, female 30, announced that she was 4 months pregnant, and she wanted the two of us to have a joint gender reveal since we could not do a joint baby shower. While I never planned on throwing a gender reveal, this was really important to Amy, and she really wanted us to share the experience. My husband and I had already told some people that we were expecting a little boy, but Amy wanted us to have the full experience, meaning that my husband and I would find out the gender in the same way as Amy and her husband, male 31, would find out the gender of their little e. Ultimately, we decided that this would work best if each couple cut into individual colored cakes. As I bake as a hobby, we decided that we could save some money and I could bake and decorate the cakes. We decided that my and my husband's cake would be a lemon cake dyed blue on the inside, but decorated with white icing and pink/blue sprinkles. Amy asked that her cake is decorated the same way, but she gave me creative control on flavors. At this point, I found out from Amy's doctor that she and her husband were expecting a little girl, so I thought that it would be a nice idea to do a red velvet cake, chocolate being her favorite flavor. I baked the cake in the same style as Christina Tozzi's famous birthday cake, and I was pretty thrilled with the outcome. Unfortunately, all did not go to plan. Amy and her husband and I and my husband cut our respective cakes at the same time, but Amy immediately burst into tears once she saw the inside of her cake. Unfortunately, the coloring that I had used was not very, very vibrant, and the red velvet cake was red, but kind of brownish too. You could definitely tell that it was red, but I think Amy was unhappy with the muddy color. Her husband immediately accused me of racism, considering that he's a person of color, while Amy, my husband, and I are all white. He said that I chose a muddy brown color to indicate that his daughter would be mixed. Reddit, that was absolutely not my intention, but Amy and her husband left very soon afterwards and have refused to talk to me. Amy's mum has said that I should be ashamed of ruining such a special moment that Amy had gone out of her way to share with me. And I have been messaged by some mutual friends telling me that Amy is worried that she will miscarry from the stress. Am I the asshole for ruining the gender reveal? Was I racist unintentionally? Edit to answer a common question, I had chosen red velvet because chocolate is Amy's favorite flavor, and I thought that it would be close enough to pink that no one would mind. When discussing flavors, she told me that she did not want a boring vanilla cake, which is also why we did lemon for mine. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I may have been racially insensitive to Amy and her husband, and therefore ruined a special moment for them and their growing family. I'm gonna go with not the asshole for this one. I think that it wasn't a racist moment. I think that this was a mistake. I guess OP could have cut into the cake to be sure that it was the right color on the inside, but didn't. Sure, that's a mistake, but it wasn't a racist, ignorant choice. I'm gonna give OP the benefit of the doubt here and just say that the couple, the friends that cut into that cake, I think they blew the situation out of the water. I genuinely don't think it's that deep. I don't understand why they are so upset. OP's not racist. Why would they be so willing to work with OP and trust them with this if they thought that OP was going to do something racist to them? Not the asshole OP. And now in the comments, I don't know what to vote, honestly. I think that gender reveal parties are more about social media likes and accidentally setting a forest on fire, or in the worst case scenario, killing grandma with a pipe bomb. Yes, they both happened. Then sharing news that isn't really big picture important, which makes them ridiculously stupid in my opinion. I'm having a difficult time wrapping my head around your color choices for Amy's cake. The cake is either pink or blue. I also think that gender colors are pretty dumb as well. I assume that the blue in your cake was a shade that left no confusion to the blue color nor the gender of your child. Why did you think that dark red would indicate that Amy was having a girl? You saw that the cake was dark red and nowhere near pink enough before you frosted it. Your cake was blue. Amy's cake was not pink. Pink or blue. While I think that Amy is a bit of a tool for wanting the party, I can understand her disappointment. As a person of color, I can also understand Amy's husband's thoughts and reactions to a cake that was dark red and brown and not pink or blue. I'm not accusing you of intentional or unintentional racism. Your post seems sincere. I believe that you weren't trying to ruin anybody's experience, but there are a few people who are hurt, confused, and offended because of what happened. Hopefully everyone involved can talk about their feelings and be heard. 50-50. Oh my god, you guys remember Harry Potter Puppet Pals? I found the source of the ticking! It was a pipe bomb! Yay! Anyway, back to OP's response. Thank you for taking the time to leave such a detailed comment. I really appreciate your perspective. I feel terrible that everything ended the way that it did. I genuinely thought that Amy would appreciate a chocolate-flavored cake, which is obviously quite difficult to make a soft pink color. I truly believed that red would be close enough to pink that it would not matter all that much. I agree with all the points that you make about gender reveals, which is why I was not too interested in hosting one myself. It was only when Amy was so excited that I thought that it would be a nice thing to do for her. I wanted her pregnancy experience to be everything that she wanted it to be. It kills me that I might have ruined that for her. I realize that I might have been a bit of an idiot when I chose the cake, but I never meant to be racially insensitive towards anyone. I have messaged and called Amy a few times, but I haven't heard anything back from her. I will update Reddit if and when I do. Not the asshole. So you agree to do something that you don't want to, are willing to pretend that you don't already know the gender, and make the cakes, but you can't make an explainable mistake? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was the public nature and spur-of-the-moment stress that made such a strong reaction. Talk again in a couple of days and hopefully you guys can have a productive conversation and she will see your side. And now on to the update. So I didn't get much traction on my original post, but I did receive quite a few hateful messages saying that I was a racist asshole whose baby did not deserve to survive. When I posted on Reddit about the color of a gender reveal cake, I certainly did not expect that. That being said, I did receive a few comments on the post telling me that I should have gone with a traditional pink color and that Amy deserved an apology, which was fair enough. I did not want a gender reveal myself, but I had wanted to support Amy in any way that I could, and I realized that I screwed up. I genuinely believe that using red instead of pink would not have been a problem, but I should have asked the question rather than making a unilateral decision. I chatted to my husband this evening when he got home, and we decided that I would have to chat to Amy and offer throwing her a new gender reveal party, with a cake from a bakery, if that's what she would like. At the end of the day, it was never my intention to ruin this occasion for her. I had seen that she had tried to give me a call this afternoon, but I had missed it, which told me that she was open to a chat. Amy and her husband do not live very far away, so I invited them both for a drink this evening. Amy very graciously accepted, but she said that Greg would not be joining her. When she came around, my husband left us to it, and I wholeheartedly apologized for ruining the event for her and offered to organize another reveal if that is what she would like. Amy surprised me by saying that she was the one who owed me an apology, and that she should not have run out of the party like that. She said that she absolutely loved the red velvet idea, seeing as she loves chocolate cake. She said that she burst into tears in the moment because she was unhappy that the color was a bit brown and a bit red, but that she realizes now that she should have been grateful for, rather than critical of, my baking skills. At the end of the day, I am a hobby baker, and I make the cakes in my spare time. She said that she should have been appreciative of that. Amy also told me that she felt Greg's comments were out of line, considering that I have always been a good friend to the both of them, and that she said she felt it was an excuse for him to be upset. She told me that Greg has always found reasons to be upset and angry at her friends and her family, and she told me that they have been in marriage counseling because she feels that he's trying to isolate her from her social circle. Apparently, the baby was an accident, and Greg had pressured her to keep it, which she also told me probably contributed to the outburst at the gender reveal. She said that she has been under a lot of stress, and unfortunately, she channeled it towards the cake color, and by extension, me. As for Amy's mum, Amy told me that she did not realize her mum had blamed me for ruining the event and said that she would speak to her. Amy does think that the flying monkeys that were warning me of a miscarriage were probably from Greg, probably just to lay it on extra thick. As of right now, she said that she does not know what she will do, but I told her that I'll be there for her regardless of what happens. At the end of the day, both Amy and I had a few lessons to learn in this. I know that I will never make another gender reveal cake again, and I should not unilaterally make decisions on my friends' behalves. Even if it is coming from a good place, it does not mean that other people will always appreciate being blindsided. All in all, kind of a somber ending to a gender reveal story, but communication saved my friendship, and I appreciate the kind comments on Reddit for opening my eyes that I had been kind of an asshole. Lesson learned for everyone: if the baby is a girl, bake a pink cake. And now in the comments, please stay in touch with Amy. Her relationship sounds potentially dangerous, and she's going to need a friend. Also, I'm sorry, but I absolutely laughed my ass off at the original mistakes with the cakes. I would have been mortified myself. Oh boy, that's some top-tier subverted expectations. After reading the title, I was sure that the wrong colors meant blue instead of pink, or pink instead of blue. It was definitely a post with many layers. Like an onion? Onions have layers, ogres have layers. Get out of my swamp. Who the hell harasses an 8 months pregnant woman into making 2 damn cakes so that you can have a damn party that the lady doesn't even want? Someone unhappily married to a toxic man. Someone who has no other friends on account of this same husband's manipulative tactics. Someone who just wants so desperately to have a friend and to share this experience that means a lot to her. Yeah, that really was a selfish thing of her to ask, but I'm really glad that OP was there for her. So much so that she went to lengths to communicate and to work things out. I tried to get too clever making my kid's birthday cake. Instead of red velvet, I went for blue velvet. For a 12-year-old girl, not Frank Booth. It ended up so muddy and awful looking, though tasty. Lesson learned after one attempt, and my kids still talk to me. OP probably should have slapped some pink frosting in the middle of that cake just to be safe. I hope that her friend is okay, but she is in therapy with her abuser. Good idea. A red cake would have been fine if the frosting between the layers was solid pink. Our next post is titled, My 25 male girlfriend's 25 female sex drive has completely disappeared. Pretty much the title. I'm very concerned about her at this point, and I have no idea what to do. Back in April-ish, we were having sex 2 to 3 times a day. We live in an apartment together, and she's been taking online classes for her master's, and I'm working from home since the lockdown started. At some point, she got really busy and tired with a project, so we obviously stopped having sex temporarily. Since it's gotten over though, which was nearly 4 months ago at this point, she's turned me down every time I've tried to initiate or set the mood for sex. I have never pressured her. I usually wait a couple of nights before asking again when she tells me that she's not in the mood, which turned into waiting a week, which turned into waiting 2 weeks. At this point, I'm really concerned. We've never gone anywhere near 4 months without sex before. We've both always had pretty high sex drives. At this point, it's important to note that I do not press the matter or pester or pressure her in any way. The moment she says that she's not in the mood, I back off immediately. I don't think I've screwed up anywhere because she's always quite apologetic when she turns me down. Our relationship is pretty much perfect in every other way too. We cuddle and hug and have game nights and movie nights. It's never felt like we're drifting apart at any point. She hasn't been behaving differently, like she's upset or depressed, and we give each other plenty of space too. It's not like we're constantly together. We have our own friend circles, and we curl up on our own devices from time to time. I've tried talking to her about it, but she gets really upset and keeps insisting that nothing is wrong. I drop the matter pretty quickly too, because I don't want her to feel like I'm pressuring her to have sex. I just want her to let me in and tell me what's wrong. I honestly don't care about the sex, but I know that there is something she's not telling me, and it's gone on long enough that I'm getting extremely worried about her. And now in the comments, quote, I've tried talking to her about it, but she gets really upset and keeps insisting that nothing is wrong. If I was in your place, I too wouldn't pressure her for sex, but I damn well would pressure her for an explanation. From 2 to 3 times a day to not at all for 4 months? I would need answers, even if she was upset at having the conversation. It's okay to want or not want things in a relationship, but not communicating is not okay. And OP says, thanks for the response. I don't want her to feel pressured or accused of anything, but I do want an explanation. Do you have any advice on how I can be sort of firm, but also make her feel comfortable at the same time? Honestly, if it's not something that she wants to discuss, she's not going to do it calmly and rationally. She's going to get upset and try to skirt the issue. I would prepare for the fight and dig out why this is happening. She's gotten away with it for so long because it sounds like you love her, and that gives her the ability to dictate terms. If you can live with no sex and no explanation forever to be with her, more power to you. Otherwise, figure it out sooner rather than later. I'm a woman who went from high libido to very low libido, and let me tell you, I don't know why. I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to figure it out, I feel bad for my boyfriend, I have a lot of mental health issues, so I think that might be why, and I'm looking for a therapist to talk about it. You can push for an answer, but unfortunately, there just might not be one yet. Honestly, while I was reading through it, I thought, he just needs to have a good conversation with her about it, but then you said that she refuses to talk about it. Just asking, is there any possibility that you brought up the topic in a way that felt uncomfortable to her? It's the only thing I can think of. I mean, if your sexual activity changed that much, it's impossible for her not to notice it. If you are 100% honest with your writing, I would be worried in your place too, because the first thing that comes to mind is some kind of traumatic experience. I would say just try to keep calm, and if she really doesn't like you bringing up the subject, just keep giving her the space to talk about things without necessarily asking directly. Hope everything is okay, friend. Cheers. And OP says, I keep worrying about a traumatic experience too. But what? We almost never leave home because of the pandemic. One of us occasionally goes to get groceries, but that's about it. I am honestly at a loss, and she's not talking to me about it. And now on to the update. Thanks to everyone who replied to my previous post. There were some mixed responses, with some people suggesting that I insist on addressing it with her because she's hiding something, and with others recommending that I give her time to open up on her own. Ultimately, I decided to sort of go for a combo of the two. Friday, when we were both done with work, we sat down and had a discussion. I told her that I could give her the space and time she needed till she was ready to talk to me about it, but I couldn't leave it unaddressed. She needed to acknowledge that there at least was something that she didn't feel ready to tell me, and that was fine. But she at least needed to acknowledge its existence. If only so I stopped feeling like I was going crazy. She started sobbing when I was done, and then she started explaining everything. Some background that I didn't mention in my previous post, because it didn't really seem relevant, is that my girlfriend has PCOD. One of the consequences of this is that she finds it very difficult to lose weight, and has been insecure about her body for most of her life. About a year ago, completely of her own choice, I've always told her that she's beautiful to me no matter what her weight. She resolved to start losing weight, both for her mental health and to feel better about her body. She started going to the gym a couple of times a week, and I was supportive and also cut out all of my own junk food consumption in solidarity. Since the lockdown started and the gyms shut, apparently she started slowly gaining some weight back due to stress eating and lack of exercise. I'm ashamed to say that I did not even notice that she was torturing herself over her weight all this while. She admitted that she stopped having sex because she was terrified that I would stop finding her attractive after seeing her naked. I reassured her that I think that she's gorgeous and attractive no matter what, and I tell her this every day. But she was afraid that that would have changed once I saw the weight she had put on. The rest of the conversation consisted of me reassuring her that she is beautiful, and her appreciating but not really believing me. After a bit, she asked me to change the topic, and I reluctantly agreed. We had a fairly quiet dinner. She was a little sad and relieved at the same time at having told me, I think, and I was busy scheming. The next morning before work, I told her she looked lovely again, and she gave me a wan smile, like she appreciated it but didn't really believe me. But that was okay. I was gonna convince her. I asked her to pick up the groceries that evening because I was gonna have a meeting run late. The moment she left home, I got to work. I dug out some fairy lights and a bunch of candles from storage, and I started setting them up in the living room. I made a couple of playlists and I charged the speaker, snuck down to the florist and I bought a giant bouquet. For some more background, I hate dancing because I suck massively at it, while my girlfriend loves it. She used to go dancing every month or two with her girlfriends before lockdown. I would join in sometimes because it was worth how happy it made her, but she definitely missed it way more than me. So when she got back, naturally, I greeted her with what were probably the most ridiculous dance moves in the history of mankind. I'm not gonna lie, folks, she laughed. She laughed a lot. She took a short video, and we both laughed while watching it later. My movement resembled a 5-year-old practicing kung fu more than it resembled dancing, and I had stuck a rose in my ear for maximum ridiculousness. Totally worth it though. I have no idea how she ever thought that she's ugly. Her smile is just so freaking radiant. We danced like idiots for a while before I switched to the slow dance playlist. It was definitely the happiest I'd seen her in a long time. I had been a bad boyfriend and somehow missed how much she missed everything. I should have done it months ago. I told her all of this. I told her that she's the most beautiful woman in my eyes and always will be. And yeah, we had sex. Last night, it was all about her. She needed to feel special, and I had been missing that for too long. I offered to make dance nights a weekly thing afterwards, kind of as a substitute for the workouts that she's been missing, if she wants. She tore up a little. She knows how much I hate dancing, and she told me that that wasn't necessary. Apparently sex is just as much of a workout as dancing, and we have a lot of missed workouts to catch up on. I'm certainly not complaining. In all seriousness though, I'm gonna dip into my savings a little and order a home treadmill. She can't afford one right now because of college bills, so I'll surprise her with it. Thank you to everyone who helped me out with their advice. And edit, oh wow, I'm completely overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support here. Thanks for all the awards. I just logged back into this account, but I promise I'm going to read each of the replies. One thing I saw pop up a couple of times that I just want to reassure you guys about is she has mentioned wanting a treadmill, but not being able to afford one several times in the past, so I know she wants one. However, I figured that it's dumb to take the chance, and one surprise was good enough. And if there's anything this whole experience has taught me, it's the importance of communication. So I'm going to bring it up at dinner tonight that I comfortably have enough saved up to purchase a home workout machine. Since I saw cycles and ellipticals being mentioned, we'll figure out which one we want, and that I'd love to buy one for our home for the both of us to use. Thank you all so much once again for your advice. Edit 2, RIP me. The comments are coming faster than I can read them now. There's no way for me to reply to every one of them, unfortunately. There's a lot of fantastic suggestions for diets, exercise machines, dance classes, and everything in between. So thank you so much for all of them. She has a great endocrinologist whose advice she will ultimately be following, but there are some great points to bring up with him. It is really touching and overwhelming to see all this support. Thank you all so much. And final edit, she loved the idea of getting some equipment to do our own workouts at home together, so we're going to sit down and do our research tonight before picking the one that we like most. We've gotten some fantastic advice here, and we'll be looking at ellipticals, bikes, rowing machines, Just Dance on the Switch, and a bunch of other stuff that you guys suggested. To all of the people who commented to insist that she's cheating on me because I'm a simp, thank you for setting the exemplary standard for being macho. Insulting strangers online is so delightfully masculine. The lovely folks who told me to dump her because she's fat get the disappointing but not unexpected shitheads shout out as well. For the overwhelming majority of people though, I am just breathtaken by the kind and supportive comments that we have gotten. Thank you for the treasure trove of advice and life pro tips, and all the love. You folks are amazing. And a follow-up 2 years later, which is 4 days ago, OP says, "Hi, I'm the OP from this post, and imagine my surprise seeing something that I had posted 2 years ago show up while I'm browsing Reddit secretly at work. I'm glad I had saved this throwaway's password because there is no way that I was remembering it otherwise. My fiancée, then girlfriend, and I are doing great. I proposed to her a few months ago, and she said yes. We aren't in any rush to plan a wedding though. We're just enjoying our best lives as an engaged couple for now. Thank you so much for all of your validation and support, and best wishes to all of you." And in the comments in reply to that, "This entire thread was just what I needed on a grumpy Monday morning to cheer me up. Thank you for being so wonderfully hilarious, and congratulations on your engagement, you wonderful human." Congrats, I love hearing this. Is she feeling better about her insecurities now in the 2 years that have passed? And OP replies, "Thank you. She is doing significantly better now. She started therapy shortly after my post, and while she still has occasional bouts of low esteem, there is nothing near the scale of what happened in the build-up to my original post. My boyfriend calls that stinking thinking. He tells me to stop entertaining those stinky thoughts. It works for us. You can't control every thought in your head. Some thoughts aren't worth dwelling on. You rock, keep it up." And OP says, "Oh wow, I love that. I am definitely stealing it. Thank you. You and your boyfriend sound awesome." And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.